Hello, welcome to the video notes for lesson 5-9. This begins on page 46 in your notes packet. And this lesson is again about y equals mx plus b, which is something we learned about in the last lesson. We're going to understand this and learn about it a little bit more. So again, our target is the same as before. I can write an equation in slope-intercept form. So let's take a look at the introduction. The equation of a non-vertical line, so a vertical line, remember, is a line that goes straight up and down. We're not talking about that kind of line. So I'm going to put an X through that. Can be written in the form of y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Remember what we learned before about slope and y-intercept. Slope is the change in y over the change in x. So write this down. I want you to write it down because that helps you to remember what we're talking about. We want to talk about the vertical change over the horizontal change. Change in y over change in x. That's how we get our slope. The y-intercept is the initial value, or I think a better way to think of that is when the x is 0, when the input is 0. An equation written in the form y equals mx plus b is in slope-intercept form. Now, I'm not sure why they leave out the y-intercept form, but whatever. This is the typical way that you hear this form described. You can use the slope-intercept form to write and graph the equation of a non-vertical line. So we have an example here on page 46 near the bottom. If you didn't copy any of this stuff down up above, pause the video and do it now. I'm going to clear it and then move the screen up so we can work on this example. Okay, so we have a table and then we have a line over here that's on our graph, and the line it's a straight line, and it's leaning from left to right. It's leaning like it's going up, so we know the slope's going to be positive. We see the initial value right here, so let's go ahead and use this point right here as one of our points. So that's the point 0.05. And then let's use we've got, let's see here, are there any other points along the way? Actually, no, the only other point I see is this one right here. And this point is, I go over -5, down 1, so -5, -1. Alright, so let's find, so we're going to write an equation for this, okay? Now, the equation, we need m and b. Now b is right here. That's the initial value. And the b is going to be 0,5. And the value 5 is what we need. Then we got to find the change in y over the change in x to get m. So m equals change in y over change in x. What is the change in y? To go from 5 to -1, we're going down 6. To go from 0 to -5, we're going down 5. Now, I hope some of you realize what I did. I actually put the points in here backwards because I wanted you to see it doesn't matter if we had started with -5, -1, and then 0,5. we would have had a positive over a positive. This time we have a negative over a negative, but those are still going to give us, the two negatives is going to make this a positive slope, 6 over 5. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is positive. Okay, so we have our m now, 6 over 5. You could have gotten this another way, since the scale is, on the graph is going up by ones. You could just count the spaces going up and then going over is plus 6 over plus 5. Alright, so we have our m, we have our b. Our equation will look like y equals mx plus b. So you are going to plug in the values. Y equals 5 over 6x plus, and our b was 5, and there is the equation in slope-intercept form. Alright? Okay, we have a couple more examples on page 47. So, the first one, find the slope, y-intercept, and then write the equation of the linear function. So, we have our graph, and again, you can just use the graph if you want to tell you what the slope is. I find mini tables help the best. Oh, by the way, we're finding slope and y-intercept. So let's put an m and a b up here. The b is probably the easiest thing. Look where the line crosses the y-axis, and it's here at the point 0, negative 3. So there's our b, negative 3. M. So it doesn't matter what 2 points you use. There's actually a whole bunch on this one. We've got a point here, we've got a point here, we've got a point here. So I'm going to make a mini table, x and y. I need to find the change in y over the change in x. Let's pick, how about we use this point, which is negative 2, 3. And then this point right here, which is negative 1, 0. So find your change in y from 3 to 0 is negative 3. Change in x, negative 2 to negative 1 is going up 1. Now you'll notice we have a negative over a positive. So yes, that means that our slope is a negative slope, which I hope some of you recognized right away, because going from left to right, it looks like the line is leaning or heading down. So it's going to have a negative slope. So we have our m, we have our b. They actually both happen to be negative 3. So my y-intercept or slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. I have m, which is negative 3. I have b, which is negative 3. So I have y equals negative 3x. Now, you can still do plus and then write negative 3. But remember, adding a negative is really just like subtracting. So a lot of times when I do this, I just use the sign of the number and put that in between instead of adding a negative. Either way, it's correct. So if you had plus negative 3, or if you had just minus 3, that would be fine. Okay? Alright, now, the next one. I'm going to help you set this one up, and then I'm going to see who can finish it on their own. If you don't feel very strong or confident in this yet, then you can just try it, but you don't have to share your answer. But let's see. Okay. So again, above the graph, actually this time I'll put it below the graph. I'm looking for M, and I'm looking for B. Let me switch to blue here. Okay, so B, remember, is the initial value, and it looks like it's there. And I'm not going to write it down. I'll set up a little mini table. And it looks like we have a whole bunch of points that we can use to help us find our change in y over change in x. And that will help you find m. And then you're going to put it in y equals mx plus b form. Meaning, once you have m and once you have b, it should be y equals some number x plus. Now I know that the line is going up, going from left to right, so this is going to be a positive slope. So you need to find the number that goes here and here, and you'll be able to answer this question. And if you share it in math, then there'll be points on your scoreboard. Okay, the last question. Identify the slope and y-intercept of each equation. So we're looking for m and b. So underneath each one, I'm going to put m equals and b equals. M equals, b equals, m equals, b equals. Ooh, this last one's a tricky one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave the last one. This is kind of sneaky, so it'll be kind of difficult, but I think you might be able to figure it out. I don't mind if you ask a friend or a parent to help you, but this would be worth quite a few points on your scoreboard. Let's come over here to the first one. Now some of you might be saying, well, wait a second, this is backwards. Okay, well, you know what? In math, when you have an equal sign and you have something on one side and something on the other, it's okay to flip it around. Because if you think about an equal sign, whatever's on one side is the same as whatever's on the other. So it doesn't matter if you flip it around, okay? Alright, so m is the number in front of x. Well, I see -3 in front of x. Now some of you might be saying, well wait, that's a -3. Remember, subtraction is the same as adding a negative. And actually, now that I turned it into adding a negative, it might make more sense to rewrite it again. So we have y equals -3x. Remember, addition makes it okay to flip this around. So my m is -3 and my b is 8. This one, now some of you might be saying, well wait a second, what do? I've got 3 times x over 4. Well, that's the same as saying 3/4 x minus 1. Why is that? Well, remember, x is the same as x over 1. Now, I'm not going to leave it like that because that looks kind of confusing. But if I were to multiply the fraction 3/4 times the fraction x over 1, 3 times x is 3x, 4 times 1 is 4, 3x over 4. All I'm doing when I rewrite it like this is I'm kind of pulling it apart using my properties of multiplication that are legal in the math world. But this makes it easier to tell what my m is and what my b is. My m is 3/4 and my b is -1. Alright, I know some of you might be saying, wow, this is a little confusing. Then guess what? We get better by practicing and asking questions and making mistakes and then learning from them. So don't be frustrated, don't be afraid to try. I want you to try to figure out this last one. It is a bit of a tricky question, but if anybody can figure out m or b or both, then you will definitely earn some mega points on your scoreboard. If you are confused, go back and watch the video again or come and see me for help. Good luck, and we'll see you in math.